Bambini, ma voi lo sapete chi è il papà di Valerio? Il papà di Valerio è un eroe.
Io sono Cristian, sono un amico di Valerio.
Non importa chi sei.
Da oggi amici per sempre.
C'è bisogno della famiglia, non dello psicologo.
Non ce l'ho mai avuto un amico come te.
Ma perché non me lo dici?
Che cosa?
Che hai paura?
My name is Adrian Wootton, and I'm the curator of Cinema Made in Italy. This is normally a program that's held in London at a cinema in real life with an audience around this time every year in March. Unfortunately, the circumstances mean it can't be live this year, but with the help of the movie platform MUBI and the tremendous support of Film Italia, Cinecittà and Istituto Luce, we are able to present a selection of 9 new fantastic Italian movies that I've had the pleasure to select, which will be screened on MUBI. And I'm also delighted that some of the directors and performers in these wonderful films have agreed to chat to me. Normally we'd be doing this on stage in a cinema. Unfortunately, we can't do that, but with the help of the Italian Cultural Institute in London and their Vimeo channel, we are able to bring these brief conversations to you with people representing the different movies. And I'm so grateful for the time. And really, it's wonderful to be able to welcome one of Italy's most noted actors, who happens to be the star of PADRENOSTRO, Pierfrancesco Favino, in lots and lots of Italian movies that we've shown at the London Film Festival, that we've shown in Cinema Made in Italy over the years. But the first time we've ever managed to have this conversation, and I'm sorry it's happening virtually, but thank you so much for your time today and being part of this.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So let's talk about this film. I mean, you're having an extraordinary time despite all the circumstances. We saw the fantastic The Traitor last year. In fact, I think I briefly spoke to you at the Cannes reception with Marco Bellocchio for the film back in 2019. And then we have the new film from Claudio Noce, PADRENOSTRO, which you must have made pretty much in the same year. Would that be right? But you made both of these sort of simultaneously, or just after?
There was almost the following year, because in the middle there was also Gianni Amelio Hammamet, which was another movie I made. So it was, I mean, luckily it was a very busy moment of my life. That was everything was before the COVID started. So we managed to edit the movie while the COVID had started already. So I'm saying we because I'm also co-producer to the movie. So it's not because usually I talk about the movies I'm in as if they were mine. But in this case, it's a little bit more kind of my project as well. And sorry.
No, but that's exactly why it's so good to talk to you, because I'm obviously familiar with Claudio's work. We showed The Ice Forest, his 2014 film, back in Cinema Made in Italy that year. But I wanted to ask you, I mean, how did you get involved in this project, both as a performer but also as a co-producer? Did you, because you hadn't acted in another one of his projects, I don't think, before. So this is the first time that you've had a creative relationship with Claudio. How did that come about? Where did this project come to you?
Well, it started with friendship because we know each other since quite a long time now, and
Ah,
of course I've followed all of his career, and he's followed mine. So we started pretty much the same, even if I'm older than him. But I've always followed his path and what he was doing. And then one day he just wanted me to read a treatment for a movie he had in mind, and immediately I was very strongly hit by what he wrote, especially because it was something so personal. And and I think that knowing Claudio's career, that was something that was missing, in my opinion, as a friend of his work. So when he introduced me this treatment, I thought it was really important to him. And at the same time, I had the chance to recognize in many of his memories the ones I had of my own childhood. So it was quite easy to relate directly to what I was reading, and it was an incredible journey because we started from that, and then together with Maurizio Piazza and Andrea Calbucci, who are the other producers to the movie, we decided we wanted to embrace the possibility of making a movie out of this story, and then everything happened through, I mean, a lot of work, script work, and then the incredible journey that took us to Venice. And so we all are very happy about that, and it's something we really care for.
no, and obviously the film attracted a huge amount of attention in Venice, but and we'll come back to that. But before we get there, when he showed you the treatment, did you know that this incident where the attempted, murder of his father as a policeman had happened?
No.
Were you aware of that reality in his life in the 1970s?
No, I didn't know anything about that. I didn't even know that Claudio's father was part of the political environment in Italy at the time. I didn't know that his father had a role, and of course I didn't know anything about his personal story. And I was quite hit by the fact that he's never mentioned anything to that, like this to me. Not that we are close, the closest friends, but something like that. You exchange your memories with people around you. And oddly enough, I also believe that being the son to a policeman in those years, even if it was not in a uniform, but a judge, in a way brought Claudio and an entire generation to a certain level of shame, I have to say. And I know it's weird to say, but maybe he was ashamed to say that, because, and that made me think a lot about the tensions, the tensions of those years that still had the possibility of touching our days. And that was, I think, also another very important hint to the movie, because when he decides to speak about that, it's more than just making a movie. It's something very intimate. So in a way, I just wanted to help him, get through something that it's so personal that only if you had a friend with you might have happened, with that kind of freedom, and at the same time with the right amount of fear. Because then when we're talking about this kind of relationships, father and son, they are so rooted in our conscious world that they might lead you somewhere else. So you need to be accompanied, but at the same time, you need a friend to tell you, you're going into a too personal path. Yes. Maybe people won't like to see your personal things, or what's so important for you in a personal way might not be narrative. So that's why I was saying this is an incredible journey, because everything is interlaced.
And in terms of your involvement in it, in terms of becoming a co-producer, but then becoming the leading actor in it, was it clear? Had he written the treatment with you in mind to play it? Was that his clear intimation from the beginning?
He had, of course, he had his father before than me, but he had, because that was really the first steps he was doing, and he always thought about me, and I've asked him why, and he told me, you remember me not from my father, but you have the same kind of protective aura that a child might feel, And that was something that I could recognize, even if it's something I'm fighting with as an actor. But I understood why he wanted me to play that, and also, you know, I had the chance through the story to tell also my childhood and to, in a way, to project my father into this man.
I mean, that's interesting, because I was going to also ask you, because one of the very interesting things about the film, and obviously you were involved in that script development from the beginning, is that there's a very, and I think it's a very clever decision, but it's a very clear and clever decision to really root the film's point of view through the eyes of the child. You are really seeing everything from his perspective. So your character, as his father, is absolutely through the prism of his eyes, and that's quite unusual for you to be essentially the leading man, the central character of the father, but actually all of your performance is being refracted through the child. And was that a decision you were always supportive of?
Absolutely. I didn't feel belittled or diminished by the fact that I was not the leading role, and I don't consider myself the leading role in the movie, of course, because we wanted, you know, the 70s, we wanted to tell a story from that point of view. You know, the 70s for us are still an open wound, believe it or not. What happened in those years, it's something we can't really relate to without still having fights or really getting into a very deep and objective discussion. That's also something we didn't want to do. We didn't want to talk about that political moment. We wanted just to see how that situation affected people. And given the fact that this story was really effective of Claudio's life, we just wanted to follow the path of something that generationally we remembered from that point of view, because I was 8 at the time. So all of the memories that I had, even if I didn't have to go through that terrible moment that Claudio went through, I remember the tension of those years for a kid. I mean, when Aldo Moro, who was a very important politician in Italy, was kidnapped, I remember it because there were no cartoons on TV. I know it might sound even ironic, but that's the point of view of a child. And what kind of childhood we've been deprived from because of those events. I think that is the only very pure way we could look at those years without having the presumption to say this is what happened in those years. We're not politicians, we're not historians. We can't really give a full answer to this, but we can try to say what happened to people that were affected by those years.
And I think that's one of the things that I think is one of the real strengths of the film, is that it's, again, very clearly avoids being dogmatic or taking a political side. Apart from being reflected through the perspective of the young boy, is that you're clearly showing a man and his family, his children, all suffering from this incredible pressure, this tension that is there, this threat, this clear and present danger of the threat to your life, and therefore the threat to the whole structure of your family. And that's what it seems to me the film conveys, is that obviously the son is traumatized by witnessing the attempted assassination of his father. And I'm not giving anything away in terms of plot spoiler, because that's the very beginning of the film. And then it's about the aftermath of that and how the family are trying to be normal. And I wanted to ask you, in terms of, for you, in terms of the challenge of the performance, because one of the things that it seems to be quite clear is that you're managing that, trying to hint at the inner turmoil while presenting to your family that everything's fine. I'm getting on with my job, but nothing. And I think that's one of the great subtleties of your performance in this, is that you have to kind of indicate to us, the audience, that you really are scared, you really are worrying, without appearing to present it to the family at all.
Well, I think that's part of I remember my father doing the same. I mean, we're talking about the 70s. I mean, all of the literature about children, started in the 80s, in the mid 80s, at least in our country. Before, it was like old rules you used to use with your children. So children needed family. That was what most people was saying, and it was very generic. But this is what my father used to do, not because he was not a cultivated man, but just because that was the way, especially men used to have. And showing or wanting to show off even a manly attitude was something that was very, very recognizable, at least in all of this man that came from the South. My father did too. So that was the way they just took this armor of and walk with it. So that was also what made of your father somebody reliable on 360 degrees. You say nothing will ever happen to my father. That's why I think it's so important for us to tell this story, because at the very beginning, as you said, that man shows that he's vulnerable, and those kind of men would have never let anything intrude in their strength or so-called strength. And I had that feeling. And then I think that everybody remembers. I mean, all of the audience can relate to the fact that we all knew as children when we were told the truth or not, because it was not about the words. It was about something we were feeling, and feelings are stronger than words, and that might try to reassure us. But I remember precisely every moment I felt scared, even when I was told there was nothing to be scared of. And maybe you start to become an adult when you believe in that pact, when you say, okay, it's fine, so nothing really happened. But when you're still related to your emotions, as Valerio in the movie is, as the leader of the movie is, you can't just fight that with rationality. And so, yes, I had to do that. I had to do that, but it was like the easiest thing, because as you said, the point of view is the one of the kid. So whatever I might have done in terms of reassuring him, the story would have told you that was not true.
True, yeah. And in terms of that perspective, I wanted to ask you, there's a couple of things I wanted to ask you. One was, you obviously said that we know it's inspired partly by Claudia's father. You drew on experiences and memories of your own father. You are extremely adept at embodying real life characters, and you just mentioned you did it. You essentially in the previous movie you were playing the president. You played obviously Thomas Buscetta in the wonderful Bellocchio movie The Traitor. In this, obviously, though this is a fictionalized portrait, it's not a dramatic, reproduction of Claudio's father. But I wonder, how much did you talk to him about his father? How much, in a sense, personal research did you do with Claudio about what his father was really like, or did you stay away from that?
I stayed away from that. First of all, because I have to say, but don't not tell anyone. I'm not a big fan of biopics, but it's. I'm kidding, of course, but no, these things are happening by chance. I mean, I don't want to specialize myself in that kind of stories. That just happened with great directors, and I'm very lucky because of
and
that.
Ron Howard, you played a racing driver in Clay.
Exactly. I mean, I'm haunted by everything. No, but no, I didn't want to dig into the real thing. First of all, because I had just with me the only person that could really drive me into what it was his memory of his father. Yeah. That was stronger, I think, than to have my personal image of his father. And another reason why was that I really respected the fact that his father went through all of this, and I could just imagine what kind of difficult moment might have been for him to have his son talking about something so painful that, as you said before, must have been very painful for him, because it showed his vulnerability. And that aspect that we were talking about before, I think it's something very real and important for that man. So I just didn't want to disturb him, and I really didn't need people to recognize him in that. Also because we're not talking about somebody like Tommaso Buscetta or Bettino Craxi that had a public image,
Yeah.
so the audience might want to recognize or might have a memory of. So I didn't have a public image to betray.
Yes.
And it was not necessary for me.
And that obviously gave you more freedom then in that context.
In a way, yes, but oddly enough, then the people who knew him had a feeling that I was playing him. But that's the magic of memory, I think. I mean, when you have a memory of somebody, you want to project it into the people that are portraying that in that moment or embodying that in that moment.
And in terms of then, because you've worked with the cream of Italian acting talent, but obviously you worked with many of the greatest filmmakers in Italy and of course around the world. I just cited Ron Howard there, but he was a friend, but you then developed this working relationship. You became the co-producer. What is your working relationship? How would you characterize your working relationship with Claudio, and how different is it, say, from working with someone like Marco Bellocchio?
Well, it's a very unique situation because the fact that you're a co-producer and the fact that together with my friends Maurizio and Andrea, we're trying to take production to another level, which is more of really a collaboration. So it's not just about financing a movie. It's not just about trying to find a way to put it up. It's really the idea of what kind of movies we would like to do. I'm not saying that all producers are doing the other way around, but I'm saying that we really are into the creative process, and I think that makes things different. I have to admit that with Marco Bellocchio, I had by chance pretty much the same kind of relationship, just because Marco let me in his world, which is an incredibly rich world, and I felt privileged of this. Once he understood that whatever I might bring to the movie was not for my own sake. You know, never trust an actor. I mean, we all want to appear better than we are. We all want to you know, we all want to, there's an ego there. Not that directors don't have one, on the contrary. But yeah, that's exactly what it is. I think it's a way of balancing our own egos. And but what was always clear, it was that no one was doing that for other reason than for making a very good movie, the best that we could do. And once you get to that kind of agreement, even if you don't say that, even if you don't say the words, I think that all of the efforts, even when you fight, all of the efforts are for a very purpose, target, and objective, and that's what happened.
And I mean, I think obviously in this, you had a fantastic launch in Venice. You won the Best Actor prize in Venice, which, you know, congratulations for that, obviously.
Thank you. Totally unexpected, I have to say.
But the other thing I was going to say is that there are wonderful performances from the entire cast, and one of the things that is often very difficult in movies is working with younger actors, you know, children or young people. Magnificent performance of the boy who plays your son. Can you talk about working with him particularly, and what that working relationship was like? Because it seems incredibly natural and understated.
Well, we started that process quite a long time before the shooting. We were very lucky to meet Matteo.
I presume you were involved in the casting. Sorry to interrupt.
I was, but I mean, I didn't want to intrude in that. You know, if I was the producer, maybe I would have done more, but I didn't want to intrude into that process because I know how delicate it is. Yeah. And I was never the kind of actor who says, I'd like to work with that more of the other actor. I mean, it's something I hate personally. And as a director, I know you choose not just because of talent. I mean, there's something that you might not even know what it is, that it's telling you that that's the right guy, or that's the right woman, or that's the right actor. So it's something so intimate that no one can really say anything about that. But we, when we found Mattia, we were incredibly happy because we knew that from the very beginning, from the script, when we would have met the couple of boys, things would have changed for good. And that's exactly what happened. he carries with him something that is absolutely unique. We were looking for a guy who might be a guy of the 70s with the same kind of behavior, as polite as Mattia is. It's completely different from the boy of our days, and we found this jewel, and it was very easy for me as an actor just to tune to him, because whatever he was doing was right. Then another thing was, and it's very important, Mattia didn't play himself. He really played. He really played, and he had of course, we had an acting coach for the boys, but they did an incredible job, because it's really an interpretation, and it was incredibly helpful for me to have him, because whenever I was just reacting to what he was doing, I knew I was doing something right, and that the reason why I said it was totally unexpected for me to win the Coppa Volpi was because I've always thought that he was, and he is, the leading role. And when they told me I had won, I thought it was a joke. But of course, I'm the happiest actor in the world. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I mean, I really owe to him the balance of my character.
And that seems to, we're coming to the end of our time, but I wanted to ask you about that in terms of, because I used the word earlier in terms of understated. It seems to me that the whole script and that the prism of the child's perspective, that the fact that it is very much through him, did that mean, because it certainly seemed that way to me, it certainly seemed to me that your whole the way in which you're being in the movie is less is more, that you're kind of deliberately as massively understated as you can be, and that seems to work incredibly well, because a lot of your performance in this film seems to be about look and intimation rather than dialogue.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like that. And well, first of all, I like very much to change, so I had the chance to play two roles in which I had to play a sort of a monument, you know, people with a great energy, very strong characters with a great leadership, both of those characters. And in this case, I think that as an audience, you always have to feel unbalanced between what he believes this man is and what you might think this man is. At the very beginning of the movie, people don't really know what I do for living. Yes. If I am a good man or a bad man, if I belong, what side do I belong to? And I'm very happy about this, because the unsaid, it's what builds the relationship between a father and a child. Yeah. And you said perfectly, I mean, it's his point of view. Whatever steps I might have done to express more the feelings of this man, or just to, you know, to make the audience understand what he was thinking, that would have been a betrayal for the movie, I thought. Of course, it was not superficial. Sometimes it's harder to keep your instinct as an actor, but I just wanted to work for the movie. I just wanted to work for him, and yes, less is more. But in this case, less was the only key, I think. It would have been too intrusive, and it would have led the movie somewhere else if I had to force my presence, or just to you know, to be cheeky and say, hey, this is Pierfrancesco Favino in the movie, and you're watching me. And you know, it's not
you
my
certainly do that.
It's not my style. No, I don't like that. But you know, no, I had the chance to do that before, so I mean, I had my moments.
Well, all I can say is I think it's a complex, subtle, and very rich movie with a complex, subtle, and rich performance. And I'm sure that the audiences who are going to get a chance to watch this on MUBI in the UK here between the 16th and the 29th of April are really going to really be immersed in that world, because you do recreate that world of the 70s. I haven't even talked about the quality of the environment and the production design, the period accuracy, again, without being, as we would say, on the nose, but its subtlety, but very beautifully rendered. You are enveloped in this sort of uncanny and unsettling world, because you don't quite know who you are, what's going to happen. And I think that really adds to the film being very gripping.
Thank you. No, I'm very happy and proud of this, because we, as I told you before, as producers and of course director, we wanted all the costume department, the DP, settings, everyone to work together before the movie started. I know it's something that's usually you do that, but in Italy it's not that common. While I think that helped a lot to build a common language, and you see that because, as you said, it's not on the nose, and it's there. You feel it, but you don't notice that. But there is something about those ears, and just something about those ears that might remind you, as an audience, of your personal memory of that moment, and not just showing you, "Hey, we're in the 70s here."
No, and I think that works. That preparation, that attention to detail works incredibly well. So I think you've got to go.
I'm sorry, but there's people waiting for me in Cinecittà again.
Hair and makeup tests.
I need that. I mean, as you can see, I need that badly. It's locked down. I mean, we don't have barbers.
And I haven't even had a chance to ask you about you playing D'Artagnan, but that'll be another occasion.
Yeah. With pleasure. I'm sorry. I mean, I hope as soon as we can, we'll see you. I'll see you in person.
Well, we'd love to have you back in London talking about your films, hopefully face to face on a cinema stage full with a big audience waiting.
We will.
I hope we can make that happen.
Thanks for your time.